saying that in the agenda of the UN agency specialized in tourism, the sport tourism, the tourism related to sport, it's very high in the agenda. It's a kind of a rising star of the tourist segments. And this is because the economic dimension of this segment is quite impressive. We are talking industry moving more than 600 billion and 10% of the total of the tourist travels. And we are talking also of a very value added, we call a premium segment, because it's really, from reasons that I will not enter into detail, a driving force to make the destination more sustainable. It's having a really positive impact in the destination. So for this reason, and also because there is something I want to share with you, we as an institution have a uniqueness, characteristic, and is that we have also as members private companies. Local administration is the only UN agency that is having not only the governments, the member states, but also the companies, which are the ones that are making the tourism. So this is why we propose you today a panel which is integrated by important companies having in common that they are all members of our organization. And this is a very important characteristic because it's giving us an excellent platform to stay in touch, to get inspired, to collect information, and to elaborate recommendations based on real knowledge on the companies that are really in condition to provide us with very valuable inputs. And we are collaborating with them both in the area of knowledge generation, and it's very important to this aspect because, you know, we have affiliate members having their own big data studies. We have here, for example, Mabrian, which is this profile of company, and for us it's really a great asset. So we are always happy to try to enter in the program of different segments related to tourism and to bring not only, let's say, the bureaucratic message of the institution, but to be always hand in hand with our partners. So having mentioned this, I propose you today the discussion with a panel 100% formed by companies which are members of UN Tourism. And my challenge as an experienced moderator would be to try to take full advantage of the expertise we have joined here on the stage and to try to get their insight on this very timely topic of the panel. And we'll do this in conversation with our outstanding speaker, Carmelo Sanz, as you know, is the president of the Senate of Federación Internacional de Automóvil, which is a stakeholder, as we all know, with an impressive agenda, own agenda of big motorsport events. Also, I have the honor to have here Mafalda Magalhães. She is the director of the museum of one of the famous and well-deserved famous teams, football team in Europe, Football Club Porto. I know firsthand, because I'm in touch with her constantly, that how important it is for them, for the museum, for the club, the use of data and new technologies to enhance the experience of their visitors. Also, Cendra, which is a Chief Communication and Marketing Officer at Mabrian Technologies, who I have no doubt will enrich a lot this conversation, sharing with us insights from their outstanding tourism market intelligence work. And of course, Matt Jones, Senior Business Development Manager at Klook Travel and Technology, who undoubtedly have a lot to say about the evolution and the way digital platforms are totally reshaping ticketing and travel planning for sport tourists and for the fans worldwide. So thank you for your patience and having explained why this format within the World Football Summit. Let's get started. I would like to propose you to start with the topic of, we all know how important it's evaluating and measuring the impact of the events for the destination and, of course, for the planning to assign resources. I would like to start by inviting you, Carlos, to share with us the perspective of Mabrian, having in mind what I mentioned before, that the company is a very well-known one for its data-driven approach to tourism intelligence. So if you could give us your perspective on this topic, sharing with us how precisely your insights help your clients from sport or from tourism industry on shaping their management decision on important aspects having to do with the organization of the event. Of course, any concrete example would be highly appreciated.
Thank you, Ian. Good afternoon, everyone, and thanks UN Tourism and World Football Summit for having us. As a global leader in data analytics and tourism advisory, what we do basically is using big data and AI in order to identify and predict travel trends to help our clients, mainly governments, destinations, but also some clients in the private sector, to make more efficient and more sustainable decisions. And that includes also measuring the impact of events, any type of events, including sports events, and predicting the impact of that event, which is the key question that I'm going to talk about. And one of the good examples about this is the study we will be releasing today about how we'll be forecasting the impact of the upcoming UEFA Champions League games in Europe, specifically in Spain, Italy, and Germany. And going through the example of Spain, in the case of Madrid, we predicted the impact of the game against Real Madrid against Manchester City, that's going to be held in Madrid on the 10th of December, knowing that the turnout, the attendees of that match would be around 73,000, and the economic impact, direct economic impact for tourism will be around 4.4 million euros, which at the beginning could sound not that much, but that doesn't include obviously any type of ticketing, sponsoring, advertising, and all that. This is basically how we predict the visitors are gonna spend in Madrid during due to that event, and that will be segmented in. We segment that in 3 blocks. Around 55% of that means 2.4 million euros will be for food and beverages. That means restaurants, bars, all that. 1.3 million euros will be for accommodation, and the rest, around 100,000 for transport. This is interesting considering that around 60% of the attendees of that match is expected to be Real Madrid supporters that are residents because they have the club member seasonal ticket, right? So we're talking about around 29 to 30,000 visitors that are gonna be holding that economic impact. And that's really interesting, not only for Madrid itself, but also for the tourism industry to know all that and be prepared. We also analyze the impact in terms of air connectivity. Flights from Manchester will be increasing those days 58%. The accommodation prices are growing a lot, 5 stars, more than 30%. And we even analyze the profile of the potential travelers from Manchester to Madrid in order to understand what are their preferences and motivations in order to help the industry to get those visits to stay longer, right? And we know, for example, that the Manchester visitors in Madrid prefer cultural activities, shopping, and gastronomy as the top 3 motivations to be in Madrid.
Well, thank you for sharing this interesting concrete details and keeping the example of football, but getting outside of Spain. I know that Mabrian have been working with Qatar in the preparation of the World Cup, and that was World Cup, it's World Cup, but that was a very unique one because it was immediately after the pandemic, among other reasons.
Yep.
So could you briefly share
Yeah,
with us
briefly.
the experience and the balance in this specific case?
That was as you mentioned, was a pretty special case. 2022 Qatar, not only because it was right after the pandemic, but also was the very first time a World Cup happening in winter for the Northern Hemisphere. And also the very first time World Cup happening in Middle East, a region where the football tradition is not that high, let's say. So there were many challenges, not only for Qatar, but even for FIFA, in order to, for example, predict the turnout, the number of attendees at that moment, not only for the games, but also for the fan zones and all that. Adapting the tourist infrastructure, not only stadiums, but all related to tourism, was also challenging. Transport, security, etc., accommodation, obviously. And third, understanding the potential profile of the visitors. This is pretty key in order to take the most of an event on a tourism way for the destination and the local economy. And in this case was challenging, especially because one of the main targets for the World Cups are the Latin American markets. And obviously there was a destination not really known, but that markets, but also for the destination, those markets were really common unknowns. So we help Qatar to understand the preferences and the perception those markets have about the country and how to communicate better in order to get their confidence and helping them to visit the country and stay longer.
Thank you. I know this is golden support for the destination. Let's shift from stadium, from football to the Formula One circuits. Carmelo, I know that we all know that FIA oversees one of the world's largest and most impactful sport events. Of course, I'm aware that Formula One is only the peak of the iceberg, and FIA, it's an empire having a much richer agenda. But I would say that in the case of Formula One, somehow it's the golden dream of every destination to be host in some moment. And here in Madrid, we understand a lot about the passion that is raising. So it would be great to know your perspective on this topic. How decisive is, from your perspective, the use of data technology in optimizing the management, the organization of this type of huge, of mega events?
Mm-hmm. Thank you, John. Yes, Formula One is the most popular thing we do in FIA, but we have many other sport activities in motorsport, you know. But FIA, when you look at the evolution and how this data and information and analysis and analytics that we have added in the last few years, it's good to see, in the sense that when you were going to the circuits maybe 10 years ago, the majority of the people around were out of our generation. And then internally we started to think we need to change that. We need to start attracting the new generations to our sport, you know. And then we focus a lot in engaging content, you know. And then we started to create some kind of FIA explainers, small pills of information about our sport to deplete the complexity of the sport in the areas of the regulation, the aerodynamics, the power units. And then we also started to use a platform like Netflix, where we were creating a lot of sketch and short delivery messages of our sport. And surprisingly, even for us, the impact that all this incorporation of new content in new platforms is well positioned Formula One within FIA as the fan base largest in the world. We have over 800 million there. We are 11% higher than the second one, which is the NBA. And this is an incredible platform that we are managing, you know. But the surprising thing, and what we are more proud of, is that when you look at this fan base now, 43% of the fan base is below 35 years. You know that it was not thinkable a few years ago. And only last year, the incremental new fans is 90 million, you know. And another positive thing and another positive impact, because this was a very men-driven kind of a sport, is that 42% of the fan base today is females, you know, then youth, and we have opened to that, you know. Then this was one of the activities that we launched a few years ago, and that is paying back. And the other thing that we did was within the sport itself, and if we focus again in Formula One, to add some more attractive components, like for instance, the sprint race, you know. Then you have the formal race, but then the day before, we have the sprint race that is giving an extra challenge and an extra attention, you know. And it's really impressive to see some of this, the impact that some of these things may generate, you know. For instance, just in the sprint 2025 in Shanghai, 84% of the live TV audience was on the sprint race of the Formula One, you know. Then I think that this, together with the social media, we have, and we have to thank TikTok, Instagram, YouTube, we have more than 200 million new people in the fan base, and this is growing over 20% each year, you know. I think that this is really helping our sport, all these new technologies and all these new platforms and what we are doing within them to deliver a better content.
Thank you, Carmelo. I know firsthand that we have a very intense agenda with FIA, and without entering in details, listening to your mention about the content creation and so on, I know that you will have for sure some challenges in common. For example, with football, that today all the experiences have to compete for the minute of attention of the audience, and Formula One, it's a long race, and the 90 minutes of football is becoming long from this perspective. So I know that we are addressing this challenge, working daily with the FIA, and let's change from the circuit to a museum. Mafalda, it would be great to have also your perspective on this, on how you use the data and the technology to improve the fan experience and in a museum. And if you want to mention, if there are specific tools you give priority or you use in collecting, analyzing the input from the visitors and taking as a base for your decisions.
Okay. Thank you, Jan. It is a pleasure to be here speaking about the FC Porto Museum. I don't think all the people in this room knows this museum, but you are invited to go there. This is a project that starts in 2013, and when we opened 12 years ago, I think we were very clever because we built a museum with a lot of technology for that date so long ago. But that technology is not essential for people to go and to learn about our club. We have a storytelling that joined the club to the city. So that was the first way to catch tourist people. And because FC Porto and the stadium where the museum is not in the city center. The city center of Porto is a very strong touristic flow. Everybody goes to the center. And in the oriental part of the city, we don't have anything, only the stadium and the museum. So it's the only touristic attraction for our foreign people that arrives to visit in that part of the city. We don't have city sightseeing, we don't have anything there. So our strategy was to create a very good product with a lot of impact in people. Football is emotion. All the sports that FC Porto has are very emotional. People identify a lot in the city of Porto with FC Porto because we represent some kind of mystic of the region and the city. And with that product, we start to struggle with a lot of problems, operational problems, booking problems, and content problems. So the technology, in my point of view, can help this kind of infrastructures like museum to create a better experience and an operational experience to those who work there and to those who visit us. If you have and the databases and collecting databases in all of these kind of points are very important. First, we have to preserve our heritage, so we have 30,000 objects to analyze and study. With that objects, we can create contents to feed the people who arrives and to get in touch with different targets, people with disabilities, young people, old people. So with that content, we can always do different things. So we need a very good databases of all our trophies or our shirts, and try to show that in a nice way. The other thing is, how can we get more people? We need to have more people in our museum because economically the museum must be sustainable. We are not the club focus on football and doesn't focus on culture. And the museum is like a good thing to have, but it's not a priority. So how can we catch the tourists? In this room, how many FC Porto fans are here? 5? 6? If I knew it was only 6 in this room, before I be here, I will bring something to impact other people. So that's the way we need to work in a museum and in a club museum, because a club museum is not a general museum.
This is why I included Mabrian in the panel.
Yeah, because
they can deliver a solution.
Jan, I'm the 24% of this panel, so I have more rights because I'm the only woman here.
No. I was referring that this is being born a business opportunity.
Oh, okay. Yes, it's a business opportunity, of course. But that's what we do. We work with a partner. It's not an inside partner, but we know every kind of person that are incoming for the city, and we try to get there before they come. So that's the way we survive in our museum, because the product is good. We are the club in Portugal who has more international trophies. We have 7 international trophies. So we can go in another step next years, because I think our start was very good.
Well, let me confess that they are much more ambitious that Mafalda mentioned, because I know that we are working together in setting the base for joining similar entities worldwide with the support of UN Tourism. So they are taking also the leadership in promoting very good ideas. And I will get back because quite different approaches. You mentioned your approach toward the connection with the local authority, which will be also interesting to have your insight. But also we have to have in mind that to attend competition, the visitors and the fans must buy ticket, and many times they are doing it in platform like Klook. So, Matt, could you please share with us how does your company use data, use technology to personalize the sport travel packages? A concrete example on this, on how Klook is optimizing ticketing for sport events to improve the fan journey.
Yes, of course. Thank you. I think we have a huge advantage at Klook that we have our app on over 60 million phones globally. So we have an instant access to behaviors on that app, but also regular pulse updates in surveys to that customer base. They're predominantly Gen Z and millennial, they're digitally savvy, they're engaging with content. So it kind of really makes a difference that we have this data to our fingertips and we use it a lot to shape our behaviors. Looking through that data, 79% of our customers have traveled to a destination because of what they've seen on social media. And of that, 1/3 of them have traveled because of a sporting event, which just opens up the door to so much, which is why we changed our behaviors as a predominantly things to do travel app to moving to the sports space. And what we need to do is change that behaviors, because we need to engage with that customer in the right space at the right time, which traditionally we may not have been speaking to them at the right time in the booking funnel. And one of the things that we've seen as a real challenge, and I take a personal example of a recent family holiday to Miami. My 18-year-old son, everything he found to do was either on TikTok or through ChatGPT. But actually converting that information to a tangible booking was really clunky and really hard to do. And at Klook, we've started that in kind of our home in Asia. We're working with Little Red Book. You can now find a product through social on Little Red Book in China and actually convert without leaving the platform. And I think that's the technology and the direction we kind of need to be going. And it's also kind of understanding how the customer behaviors and search works. So in football, we work with our official ticketing partner, a company called Travel Connection. And we work with them to understand the behaviors that we were seeing through our Japanese social media. So together we invited someone to create some content for us, which was then used on our social platforms across Japan. The outcome of that was a huge 436% year-on-year growth in ticket sales to the Japanese audience. They've now become our #1 origin market for ticket sales, which is just phenomenal how social can change that. And working with partners drives you in that direction.
I know, thank you very much for the details. I know how important it's to anticipate trends, to stay in touch with the changing behavior of the consumer, because this is directly connected with the way they are taking decisions where to travel, which sport event to attend. The sustainability factor is always so important. So we are, as organizations, are spending a lot of time and effort to stay in touch with companies like yours in order to provide to the countries, to the destination, to the city, with tools, information, in order to anticipate the trend. So it's a very comprehensive topic. I see already the danger of running short. So let's dedicate some minutes to to the challenge of enhancing the fan experience. And Carmelo, I would like to know your perspective on this. What specific approaches, innovation are being prioritarily explored and used by FIA to make your big events, motorsport events, more accessible and engaging for the visitors? Or maybe you can, I don't know, refer to some example of a Grand Prix that it's a reference for you.
Yeah, no, thank you, John. Yeah, I think that it is clear that every sport can benefit from all these new technologies, and FIA, of course, is investing a lot in artificial intelligence powered systems. And why? Because we are trying to enhance the accuracy of our sport, the consistency and the effectiveness of what we do. And a good example is the track limits that now are so popular when watching Formula One. No? We have introduced tailored camera installations on every circuit, machine learning algorithm training through thousands and thousands of videos and real-time car positioning and information sensor that are helping us to deliver to the fans and to the people that love this sport, I would say a more integrated sport, you know, from the point of view of the result, you know. This is also a fantastic tool for our officials, in the sense that our officials can validate the incidents quicker, in real time, and then give a response with a high level of confidence of what they are doing, you know. And I think that the integrity of the sport is benefiting. I will compare this technology that we are using as track limit to the VAR in football, you know, in the sense that it's a fantastic tool. And of course, we are also working with other federations. We are working hands on hands with the Premier League in the UK to find out how can we have a faster response to the game and to the sport competition to our supporters by using this technology. I think that this, in the sport side itself, is also critical. You know.
Thank you. Mafalda, very briefly, how do you balance making the museum rewarding for the football fan, but also attractive for the general visitor of Porto?
I think the human being in a product like us, a museum, again, the human being's not prepared to have so much stimulus. So we need to balance that. The way we present our story to them when they visit. In my perspective, we need to apply in the museums technology helping to catch more people, helping the operational things like security, cyber security, and for our databases, and also the sustainability. FC Porto Museum is almost coming the first museum or the first attraction in the world to have Earth-Check certification for tourism sustainability and certification. So to start this now is going to help us in the next years to maintain this kind of achievement that we want to have. And also for tourism, we have partnership with a lot of institutions in the city, in the world, like ICA, like UN, like ATP in Portugal, Portuguese tourism, world tourism. So this kind of thing helps us to understand what kind of people can visit us and maintain the economic sustainability, because we are a private museum, so we need money to survive. So if the technology helps us to save money, I think AI, machine learning, predicted technology will be very important for us to maintain our way to the success.
Thank you, Mafalda. The news here is that we are running already out of time, but Matt, if you could very briefly give your perspective on this. I don't know how you integrate ticketing with other services like transportation, accommodation to create a seamless journey.
Yeah, I think, so Klook being kind of a complete ecosystem. So we have hotels, we have, as you say, things to do in the city. The challenge for us is we have the technology there to place multiple products into one basket and one transaction, which is great. But unfortunately, often people are at different stages of their planning. So if, I mentioned earlier, over a third are booking because of a sporting event, they need to secure their tickets before they move in that direction. Oh. So then remarketing becomes really important to us. If the person transacts with us and buys their football ticket, then we can speak to them about hotels in the area, transportation. Do you want to stay somewhere else and move by train to come and avoid the crowds? Things to do on the ground. We also worked, again, the product I mentioned earlier with the social content. Whilst it focused on the football ticket, probably a third of the content was about the match day experience. The rest was going to the stadium tour. The rest was seeing the local environment, eating the local food. It's so much more to look at the whole ecosystem rather than just the football ticket. And our research shows that of the face value of the ticket, customers will spend at least 6 times that amount on the ground in the city as well.
Thank you. Carlos, to end the panel, really? Your perspective, I don't know, you referred to predictive analytics, so I imagine that it would be interesting to have your...
I'll be brief. We've been talking a lot about data, but we always defend the need of information based on data, which is a different status of using data. What now we are facing as a change of paradigm is the AI, the generative AI, helping us to make available all that information to the private sector. What does that mean? We work with governments, they invest in travel intelligence, and we help them to provide an access to all that information in an easy way and an organic way to any type of business, like, for example, museums, in order to understand and predict trends and make more efficient decisions. That's the new paradigm.
Thank you. Thank you once again for your valuable insight. I think that all of us find it very interesting. It's, as I said, a very comprehensive topic, but thank you very much, and thanks to all of you for your participation and interest, and also enjoy the rest of the journey, because it's full of very interesting topics and speakers. Thank you.